how a city is managed, for instance, should be made available, should be made public. The process of governance, the process of running a city, is easy to make public. So this is through open data and open processes, sort of peeling back the secrecy that has long enshrouded how government operates. That's one piece, and the internet, of course, makes it very easy to do that. But the other, which we've seen more recently, is outfitting a city with sensors to make it smarter. In many cities, Chicago, for instance, the Department of Transportation doesn't know if a street light is out without going and looking to see if the street light is out. Some of the efficiencies that internetworked infrastructure provides is obvious. Most of the data from a city comes from the city's operations. So there's sort of your historical data, what happened when, where were the garbage trucks, for instance, where were the snow plows, and then you look back on it sort of retrospectively and see where you might be able to optimize. Then there's predictive data, right? You can pull patterns out of these things and sort of make educated guesses as to how to optimize in the future. In the city of Chicago, for instance, we did this with rodent baiting, rats. So typically what would happen is someone would call up 311 or 911 if they were really freaking out about a rat. A few days later, someone would lay a trap. That's not the most efficient way to deal with it, because we know that there are leading indicators: high weeds in a lot, trash in the alley, food being dumped. And these things we do have data on. So we began to more proactively bait for the rodents based on these data sets. And you can imagine all kinds of different ways of using this sort of predictive looking forward. What's funny is there's a real hankering in the public for this data. You might not think so, but from my time with the city of Chicago, every year when we first turned on something called Plow Tracker for snow plows was the most popular page on the city's website. Now think about that. It's not a bus. These plows aren't going to give you a ride. There's nothing that it's actually helping you. But this idea that you could see the inner workings of what was a very closed machine has a lot of purchase in people's minds. Well, I think we're at a point now where we have to be careful. That there's a lot of ways to screw it up, quite frankly. One is our cities were not built with a fully networked existence in mind, right? You see, there was a joke a couple years ago. The mayor of Philadelphia, he did an April Fool's Day joke by painting texting and no texting sidewalk lanes. This now exists. There are cities in China that have done that. There is a very physical implications to network technologies. And just like most of our biggest cities that suffer from traffic congestion now were designed before the automobile, and we've had to sort of retrofit and undo things. Now we've got cities that are having to come to terms with a populace that's basically navigating two interfaces at once, whatever's in your hand and whatever's in the environment around you. So there's some urban planning implications there, and places like Parramatta, for instance, that are essentially starting from scratch, at least in the CBD, may have a leg up. Oftentimes technology can put blinders on, that the only thing that matters is optimization and efficiency. And if there's one thing we know, it's the reason people love living in cities is actually neither of those two things. If you really love clean efficiency, you'd live in a suburb. You'd live in a subdivision.
It'd be boring.
It would be boring. The best cities in the world, there's some grit in the gears. And there's actually scientists call this positive suboptimality, meaning the city bends but doesn't break because it's not optimized, right? It's a good thing. The problem is technology often pushes us towards efficiency, and while I don't want things to break, we have to be sure that we don't design a solution with technology that makes us inflexible.